So for our next speaker, we've got Boonyakiat. He's a principal cloud security engineer responsible for designing, implementing, and maintaining security controls, performing threat research, pen testing, and more. You got a lot on your plate. Chai is going to be speaking today on how attackers can establish persistence and perform privilege escalation in AWS by leveraging AWS Service Catalog. Please welcome Chai.
All right, thank you everyone for coming. Good morning everyone. So today, hopefully, this is a short speech, so if you have questions, I will try to answer as much as possible at the end. But hopefully this talk will pique your interest into different services that AWS has, that how we can leverage that for attacker endpoint attacking. And then also, how do we prevent, how do we detect? So I'm going to cover a whole basis there. Okay, so just briefly, he already mentioned I'm a principal cloud security for American College of Radiology. So not much to go there. So hopefully everyone here might already know what Service Catalog is. For those of you who don't, I'll be speaking a little bit of what Service Catalog is. And then the next, the kicker is the launch constraint, is the main focus of this talk today. And then how do we use the launch constraint to kind of like maintain your foothold, and how to like actually create new resources, permissions and all the stuff, and then some preventative measures that you can do to prevent. So what is Service Catalog? Service Catalog is pretty much infrastructure as code. Previously, it's only support the CloudFormation. Recently, they introduced a support as Terraform, so you can also have Terraform now. It's essentially like the way that you can centrally manage your infrastructure as code, and then you can do the versioning and all that stuff. Make sure that anyone who who wants to deploy the resources can have the same standards throughout the organization. So previously also the back end of it is only support AWS, but now it supports GitHub as a repo, a Bitbucket as well. So they're expanding their compatibility to a couple of differences, different partners as well. It's easy, standard, self-service. Anyone who's using Service Catalog before has known that it's easy. You don't have to know a single line of YAML to use it. You just click and provide parameters, and you'll be able to use it, provision the resources. So now, what is launch constraint? Launch constraint is the way, the thing that AWS gives, the capability that AWS gave us that would allow you to use the predefined IAM permissions for the Service Catalog to assume. So let's say you have the user who you want them to be able to provision resources. If that particular user uses Service Catalog, by default, it's going to provision the resource based on the permission that is given to the user. So let's say if user doesn't have, is a read-only user, they want to provision an S3 bucket. When they launch Service Catalog, they will not be able to do it because they themselves don't have permission to create a bucket. However, if you have a launch constraint, you can define in the role, in the launch constraint, say, hey, this role is allowed to create S3 bucket. And when the user uses the Service Catalog, when they provision, they use the role, the launch constraint role to provision the resource. Hence, you'll be able to provision the resource without even giving the permission to the user himself. Now, the main benefit is the least privilege, right? You don't want to give everyone every permission that they want to be able to create things. So, however, there is a kick to it that people can use it to abuse this nice feature that AWS has. So here's the fun part, right? So we're going to be talking, dive into the Service Catalog launch constraint. So given the scenario, assuming that initial access already been established, assuming that you got the IAM credentials of someone who is Service Catalog admin, or anyone to that matter, the main focus of this permission that I want to look at is Service Catalog accept, right? So that's the only thing that we're going to be using. It doesn't matter. This came pre-built with the service catalog admin full access, but any other permission that has this API allowed can be exploited, right? So now again, I'm just repeating what I just said. Like right now, we assume that initial access has already been done, so we in the step of doing the persistence previous escalation. So first of all, right, you have to find out, right, once you're in the account, find out if there's any service catalog published or shared to your account, right? Next is to find out if there is any launch constraint being configured for those portfolio. So these are the few commands. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to go through how it looks like. But essentially, you just search for like, hey, if any portfolio has the service launch constraint attached to it. Now what happens? So I just go through some of the commands to say like, hey, what are the different roles inside the account that is a launch constraint. It's very easy to find, right? When you do this, you can do a list role and see like, hey, any role that's assumable by service catalog, you can assume that is launch constraint because there's no other role that should be assumed by service catalog beside the launch constraint role, right? So and then also you can also get a little more information about the role, like when it was last used. Some of them, of course, will be stale. Some of them will. We are focused on the one that's actually being used. So now let's find out a little more of the capability of this launch constraint, right? By default, service catalog admin doesn't have enough permission to look through all this, right? To list the policies and all this stuff. So, and it's noisy. Doing this is noisy. So instead of doing that, we can simply just look at the portfolio that being shared to, look at all the products inside the portfolio and see which one might be used to create IAM roles, or any products that might provision IAM role user groups as a result of it. For example, there might be some products that they publish that create IAM roles. There may be products that create Lambda functions. Part of the Lambda function, you have to define IAM roles, right? So most likely the service catalog product that provision Lambda would have this inside the product to be able to like provision the Lambda functions. So for any service catalog product that can provision IAM role, will have the set of permission to allow you to create policy, attach policy. So that's more than enough for us to take over the account. So what can happen is, the attacker can create their own product, right? Create their own product in service catalog. And then what they can do is they can attach the way that launch constraint work. It's very easy. It just tells you what is the role name on the target account that you want to use. So what they do is they create a product, package it in the portfolio, and they say, I want my product to be launched using the role name ABC on the target account. Simple as that. So what they do when they do that, they publish the portfolio to the target account, and then with the compromised account, what they do is just accept the portfolio, the one that I told you about. Accept that portfolio. Now that portfolio is now available to the target account. What happens next? All they need to do is to associate their account to that product, and they're in. Meaning, use your imagination, right? So that means you can create YAML files that create IAM roles, create any type of resource, and it's going to use the permission on the target account to execute all that. The attacker themselves don't need to have it. Service catalog admin doesn't have to have that permission too, because it's running in the context of the launch constraint. So now, this is proof of concept. So although during the test, I don't see this being flagged in guard duty at all. mainly because I'm using service catalog admin account, in which that kind of common API that service catalog admin will be doing, right? But any company with a good detection system will be able to detect this. I'm not discussing the defense evasion technique in here, but if you hear 2 talks earlier, CloudTrail, evading CloudTrail, it's very easy to evade the CloudTrail events that's involving with service catalog if you use the non-production endpoint, right? So, but I'm not discussing that in detail, but we'll talk about that. Now, let's see, how do we prevent this, right? I talked to AWS. I've been trying to see if I can use the SCP to block it by either the tag or either the principal account. None of that works, right? Mainly because the API key, the accept portfolio, doesn't allow condition key. So you can't use condition key to limit the scope of who can share the portfolio to you. So the response from AWS is, the workaround is to have the SCP actually blocking the entire accept portfolio. So you don't allow people to do the accept portfolio function. However, when you share the portfolio inside your organization, do the share as organization. So there are different type of shares. There's share by the account, share by organization. When you share through the account, you have to the target account has to do the accept portfolio. But when you do the share by organization, the target account doesn't have to do anything. So do that instead. When you do the share the portfolio, do the organization instead, and then you can block that accept portfolio part. Now, that's one way to do it. Now I'm also talking about the preventative measures, right? So, I mean the detection. So you can set all sort of CloudTrail, CloudWatch event to triggers. One that I have for sure is set the CloudWatch events for anytime anyone attaching this like admin access policy to group user role, and send the alerts or send some sort of automation to SNS topics to do remediation. So that's one of the best way that you can do. And this is useful for anything else too, right? You want to know when someone try to attach the admin permission to any of your resources, IAM roles, groups, and users. So that's one of the good ones. That's about it. It's a lightning talk, so it's very short. So, but I'll be here to take any questions if you like for a few minutes, and then if you have more questions, I'll be around. I'll be hanging out in this room for quite some time. All right, thank you. Any questions? Yes?
So my question is, so if an organization has a predefined set of IAM roles, which they have created a policy using that you cannot create any new IAMs, you should be only able to, let's suppose you are creating a Lambda, you can only use the predefined IAM. So in that scenario, can this still be the project?
Well, you can also create another role that allows you to assume that role that was predefined. So it is easy.
But all the if all the predefined roles which already exist have limited privileges and stuff, so
if all the I'm sorry, I'm going to try to repeat it. So you're saying if the company already have the predefined roles,
yeah.
and what was the next
So
part?
they have all predefined IAM roles. Even the admin is not allowed to create any new IAM.
Okay.
Okay. So they publish through Xphere a limited set of IAM roles with defined policies. So even with the admin access, you cannot create new IAM. That's blocked.
Well, if that's the case, we don't even have to create new IAM. We can create the policy that allows you to assume that role, right? So we can make any. So when the service catalog is available and you can make changes to existing role as well, you can make sure that you can do that role assumption and all the stuff, other stuff as well. So there's a way to get around that. Hey, you have any questions? Okay, all right. Thank you.